Joining us to discuss the Supreme Court case on the legality of President Trump's global tariffs is economist Christian Briggs. Good to have you with us today, Christian. Now, the president's sweeping global tariffs are by and large in effect. So broadly, how's that impacting workers and consumers in the U.S. right now?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And it's a great question. The tariffs right now are affecting some of the lower end of the economy, some of the middle to lower middle class, because obviously anything coming from China, Mexico, or any parts of the world are getting an added cost involved in whatever you're buying. You know, it's not services, it's the manufactured products that we're importing. Now, with the Supreme Court passing on it today, we can kind of talk a little bit about that, but I think that they're reviewing it one more time to look at the legality, but to try to see if they can give him a win is what I'm thinking here of late.
Okay. And if the court does fully uphold the tariffs, what will that mean for prices, business investment, and hiring over the next few years?
Okay, what does it mean for businesses first? The question you asked is good, because will the businesses be able to sustain eating the cost of the tariffs? In other words, can they absorb it in their profit margins? Now, when we look at manufacturers that are domestic, they're not worried about it. In fact, they're competing against a better marketplace, which is what Trump envisioned anyway. That's what the tariffs are all about, to create a better value proposition for the consumer. And well, first the manufacturer to the consumer, than it would be when you're bringing imported, whatever, it could be widgets, cars, plane parts, whatever it is. So the question is, can the international markets that are bringing their products in and the distributors that acquire those to sell within the economy here in the United States, will they continue to absorb it? The question is, if the Supreme Court says, yes, these tariffs are legal, in a technical definition, I'm not sure they are legal, but let's put that aside for a second, because the genie may be already out of the box. I'm not sure you can pay the tariff fees back. So the companies, can they absorb it? I think they can, but will they push some down to the consumer? Absolutely. They've absorbed it as long as they can, but at some point, all things that cost will end up being bared by the consumer. That's just a fact. Now, whether it's 10% of that, or if it's all 99 or 100% of the tariff costs, at some point they will follow the normal path of economics, and that is, it will get pushed to the consumer.
And if the court completely strikes the tariffs down, what short-term effects would you expect?
Oh boy, okay, we're going to have chaos for a little while. Because why? Because Plan B that the president already has is ready to go. And it may also circumvent or kind of pivot around the legality of the tariffs, because tariffs are a tax by the true definition of what they are. We can sugarcoat it, but they are a tax on the people. But if they do strike them down, the question is, and there's already a marketplace, people are already buying and selling the parts of which we paid into the tariffs. If you're a corporation, you paid into the tariffs because you're importing a lot of manufactured goods, like Walmart, Target, or any distributor that sells to them. They're already selling some of the tariff money in like a third party, kind of like an exchange system. So if they say no, we're going to have a little bit of chaos. But then within seconds, think of it as the electricity goes off and your generator turns on. Within a couple seconds, you've got emergency power. So I think what the president will do, will go to Plan B. There's a couple different methods to the madness that he can invoke, which he probably will. And then we'll go through this whole process again. And then at that point, the Supreme Court may say, you know what? There's so much money already paid in these tariffs, kind of like the ACA was, Affordable Care Act back in 12, where they said it's just too far gone into the economy. We're just going to let it go. And that may be what happens now, but I bet you it's going to happen more so again if an event Plan B kicks in.
Now, the Bureau of Economic Analysis reports that the U.S. trade deficit narrowed sharply in October last year by 39%, falling to its lowest level in 16 years. We know this is one of President Trump's goals in implementing tariffs. So what does that mean for the U.S. economy?
Oh, that's great. So yeah, no, it's working. The tariffs are working. We've had these conversations before, you and I, and been on and really been really detailed on this stuff, and they are working. It's the question is will they continue to work to fulfill the gap, okay, between what we are buying and what we are selling? And I think they probably will. But the real question is, does that come at a price? Is the middle class, kind of that middle of America to lower middle, are they actually paying the price for the top half who can really afford this. I mean, I'm not here to be a bias one way or another. It's really just economics. So I think we're still about 6 months away. Let the Supreme Court really digest this thing and the method of which they'll come back with a good ruling, whether it's faux or it's against. It doesn't really matter. It's going to come back to one thing. If they do stay, who is the person that's going to pay the most to increase the value proposition of the tariffs? And I think we're still about 6 months away. And I do believe some of the corporations that have been eating it, they're going to have to start passing this down, because some of these distributors work on a 7-10% margin. And I mean, they're hurting. I know companies that are losing money in order to be able to weather the storm.
Okay, and if these particular tariffs are perhaps ruled illegal, can Trump rebuild similar tariffs using other trade laws, do you think, and how quickly, if he can?
He can. He's got a couple bullets left in the gun to shoot, and again, we're going from a shotgun approach, which was Plan A. Just throw them out there, utilize the value of whatever we can get on a constitutional basis, make the argument. If the Supreme Court says no, you can't use it in that manner because it does violate the authority of Congress to be able to impose taxes, then he's going to have to sniper shoot. He's going to go from this big 12-gauge shotgun to a really very honed in scope laser, and I've got to now be very methodical on the language in which I use in order to be able to justify the continuation of the tariffs. And I think he's got some really smart constitutional lawyers around him that are going to give him another opportunity. And again, in the event the Supreme Court says, no way, Jose, on this one, then he's going to go ahead and he's going to try his very best in order to sniper shoot. And again, he'll also be able to have the reading and the briefs that the Supreme Court, the decision that's made, to be able to utilize their language, their words, their tempo, and then that might help him offset another problem if he does go round 2 or Plan B. He'll know kind of what they're thinking. I mean, he kind of does now. I think it's about a 70-30 chance that they negate those, that they disallow the tariffs. So we still have a little bit of love on the 30%, but I think it's a little bit more on the illegally used the tariffs in such a way that really was attacked by many of the Supreme Court's own comments here of late.
As you said, a matter of months until we most likely find out. Thank you so much for your insights today. Christian Briggs, good to speak with you.
Hey, thanks for having me. Have a great day.